I want to try to convince you that I think management in general often has it wrong, and we teach people to do the wrong things in business school. And I want to talk about that. We're going to get to that today. So, the idea behind management, and I've only come to terms with this in the last few years, and I couldn't really put my fingers on why I don't necessarily like a lot of the stuff that we teach in business school and why it makes me feel icky a lot of times is that it teaches people about strategizing and doing things. When I say strategy, it's viewing that there is a finite game, as Simon Sinek talks about in his amazing talks. But it views that there is this world that we're playing against somebody else and we're competing and there's competition and we have to do what it takes to get ahead within this particular competitive paradigm. In my experience, I think that's absolutely wrong. And I have been born and raised, and I realize that there's only so much that goes around in a given moment. But in the long run, the world doesn't work like that. And I believe that there is this kind of economics that, and I can't remember the guy's name. I wish I knew I'm blanking on his name, but it's an economics of growth and increasing returns. This view that there is a certain amount of resources that go around and we have to extract these resources as much as we possibly can in any given moment and strategize and think that there's only so much that you can have. It's based on a view that the world is finite, that the world does not have a lot of extra resources. And that is true for this moment, in this given time, in this very brief, fleeting moment. There's only so much that goes around. But in my view, and what I have come to really reflect on, is that there is this thing called increasing returns. And these increasing returns happen when you add something to something else. It often provides more value, and it provides more value. In fact, it explodes. If we were to sort of look at this in an economic view where we were trying to model this in economics, and so they don't actually like to look at that because it explodes. This is why we don't talk about this. Mathematically, it goes to a sort of exponential function that just explodes on itself. And you can't really model it very well. And so we choose not to. But in my view, the more that I give, the more happy I am. The more that I make other people happy and encourage them and get them to think about the world is a moment of growth. The more that I get people to feel that they're not stuck, that there's only so many resources that go around and that they have to shovel and shove and push to get to the very front, the more that I feel good, the more that I think they feel good, the more that I think actually the world grows a little bit. And it's a completely different logic. And it requires you to give freely. It requires you to not worry about competition because it doesn't exist. In fact, your competition is actually going to make you grow. If you think of those other people and you help those other people, yes, in the short term, yes, they might get ahead and they might do things, but over the long run, I strongly believe if you help other people and you help them do good, that things come back to you. And I don't know what those things look like. That's the increasing returns. That's the things that grow. That's the stuff that you can't see. That's the stuff that's so helpful to everybody else. And when we change this view that there's only so much that goes around, there's only so much resources, and we start thinking about the long run game of what that actually looks like, and you start smiling and you turn your perspective around and you start thinking, wait a minute, why am I doing this? Why am I so angry? Why is it so small? It often feels small when we take this competitive view, and the world doesn't feel that good. But if I say, let's grow this world, let's get people to be encouraged, let's get people to feel like they can do anything, all of a sudden the world is really, really, really big. And it becomes fun and exciting. And the focus is on possibilities and doing amazing and interesting things that they thought that they couldn't possibly do, but it's figuring out how to actually get there one little step at a time. I'm going to tell you this. I don't believe a lot of management stuff anymore. I don't believe a lot of the strategery stuff anymore, that there's only so much that goes around and that there's competition and all of that kind of nonsense. If you simply just start viewing the world as this long run, extremely long run game where you're having fun, you're trying to make other people be fun, have fun and enjoy the process and smile along the way, isn't that what we're intended to do? Isn't that the fun part of things? Yeah, and I'm going to tell you this, you're going to run into all sorts of people that will say the opposite. They live in a small world. Me, I like to live in this great big world that is going to grow and do crazy, amazing things if you simply just look at it that way. I like to have a little bit of a sparkle in my eye. I think that's the important thing.